The backpackers discovered a huge pit. Several pieces of human skin were hanging on the stone walls. A dangerous and eerie mysterious jungle. Mysterious unknown creatures. A suspenseful and perilous story is about to unfold. Jay and Beth are a married couple. After Beth's cancer went into remission for a year, they went on a camping trip. The two set off on their journey with their backpacks. Beth refused to give up. She almost sprained her ankle. Jay found a clearing to rest. Beth sat by the river cleaning her wound. The bloodstains on her leg grew as she washed. The blood came from upstream. She stood up to look around. She discovered a corpse not far away. Jay walked over to inspect. He found a skinned black bear. The couple speculated that it was the work of poachers. They didn't pay much attention to it. Jay led his wife back to the campsite. He carefully set up, hoping to lift her spirits. Beth appreciated her husband's efforts. She tried to forget her troubles. They drank and talked until nightfall. Gunshots suddenly rang out in the distance. Jay thought about calling the patrol, but Beth felt they were leaving in the morning. There's no need to call the patrol over. She didn't want to end the trip early. Jay gave up on making the call. Shortly after, the two returned to the tent to rest. Beth slept uneasily. She dreamt of being tied to an operating table, lying in the center of the forest. A pair of hands trying to tear open her skin. The next moment, Beth woke up from the dream startled. At this moment, she heard strange noises coming from outside. Beth went out to investigate. She explored the woods barefoot. Suddenly, a scream came from deep in the forest. Beth was very scared. She dropped the flashlight. She crawled on the ground to search. Beth found the flashlight again. She accidentally touched sticky fluid with her hands. At this moment, Jay walked out of the woods with a roll of toilet paper. He had just finished dealing with his bodily needs. Beth found it strange. When she left the tent, Jay was still lying there sound asleep. How did he suddenly appear in front of her? Could the person in the tent not be Jay? Beth ran back to check. She found the tent torn apart, covered in unknown liquid. Could there be unknown beasts in the woods? At this moment, strange sounds grew closer. Beth put on her shoes and followed Jay away. They spotted a hiding spot on the road, but it was a distance away from the woods. Currently, there was no better option. As they proceeded forward, they saw more sticky fluid on the stone walls. Shortly after, a black smoke enveloped them. Beth stared at the strangeness before her. She was almost confused. Jay pulled her away just in time. The two dared not stop and ran forward. Jay accidentally fell. Fortunately, he only had a minor fall. It wasn't a big deal. The North Star guided the two in the right direction. Jay estimated that they needed to walk another 2 miles. They would be able to find their hiding place. Unexpectedly, the couple went from darkness to light, yet they hadn't left the woods. The only benefit was, the unsettling sound had disappeared. But Beth had a bad feeling. She was afraid this trip would go wrong. She wanted to tell Jay something important. Suddenly, he saw something. He walked towards it, while Beth stared at one side, as if she had found something. Her eyes turned sapphire blue. On the other side, unlucky Jay didn't notice what was under his feet. He got caught in a trap. Beth immediately snapped to attention. She ran over and opened the trap to rescue her husband, but his ankle injury was severe, and he couldn't walk. Jay felt dizzy. Clearly, he had lost too much blood. Beth asked him to wait there. She went nearby to look for people or tools. The eerie sound echoed once more. Then a black smoke flew through the air. Beth ran desperately forward. She ran until she couldn't see the smoke anymore. She arrived near a pile of rubble by a cliff wall. Beth walked in. She saw a hole behind the stone wall. There came a buzzing of flies. Several pieces of human skin with bloodstains hung on the wall. It seemed like there were eyes rolling behind the eye sockets. Terrified, Beth turned and ran. She hid beside a rocky cliff, before catching her breath. Her mouth was covered and she was choked. Soon footsteps approached from above. A thick string of mucus dripped down. This mysterious person intended to save Beth. After the unknown creature left, the mysterious person carried Jay into a cave. Inside were piled backpacks belonging to travelers. In a corner, there was also a heap of hiking boots. From the conversation between the two, the mysterious person's name was Quinn. Beth wanted to help her husband reconnect his broken bones. Quinn approached and covered Jay's mouth. Afraid his screams would attract enemies, Quinn helped to set Jay's broken leg. Jay instantly fainted from the pain. Beth took the opportunity to stitch up the wound, to prevent Jay from bleeding to death. The couple wanted to leave this place, but Quinn said that, "You won't survive half a mile out. The unknown creatures outside love skinning. Every year, 1,000 people go missing in the American wilderness. Most of them fall victim to skinwalkers." Beth noticed a woman's photo on Quinn's necklace, thinking he was also affected by a missing family member. That's why he stayed in this forest like a wild person. Quinn let Beth and Jay rest. He would send them away early the next morning. Beth fell asleep but woke up soon due to a nightmare. She noticed the floor was hollow, but afraid of waking Quinn up, she didn't investigate. Early the next morning, Beth was awakened. Quinn called her outside to search for clues, confirmed the escape route and then come back for Jay. On the way, Beth asked about the girl on the necklace. Quinn explained that she was his daughter, Addison. Not long ago, father and daughter came to the mountains to hunt for fresh air. Addison went missing. Quinn was unwilling to discuss it further. He led Beth to continue finding the way. Some blurry images flashed through her mind. Beth was about to speak to Quinn, only to find that he had suddenly disappeared. Those images kept flashing back. Beth called out to Quinn for help. Just then, the dark mist struck again. In a critical moment, Quinn appeared. Once again, he saved Beth. He drove the dark mist back to the forest. The two returned to the basement. At this time, Jay had developed a high fever due to infection in the wound. At this rate, he would lose his life. Beth wanted to go back above ground to find an escape route. Quinn wouldn't let her leave.
You're sick, ain't you? I don't suppose you've been having nightmares since you got here either.
Quinn explained that the Skinners target the sick, because they are weak-willed. Beth admitted that she has cancer and her condition is worsening. She lied to her husband about her health improving, to get this trip opportunity, because she wanted to create some good memories.
Addison. She was sick too. Like me.
Yeah.
No wonder Quinn would lend a hand to strangers. He must have thought of his sick daughter through Beth. Quinn closed his eyes to sleep, as Beth picked up a match from the floor, then lifted the hollow floorboard, crawled into the dark passage, where the space was narrow, forcing her to crawl forward. At the same time, Quinn woke up and looked around to find Beth missing. The floorboards had been moved. Meanwhile, Beth crawled into a spacious cave, lighting a match to observe and discovered bodies piled on the floor. Beth crawled back to the ground. As soon as she poked her head out, she was grabbed by Quinn. It turns out that this man has been using travelers as bait. He wants to hunt down the Skinners to avenge his daughter. Now Quinn wants to sacrifice Jay to lure out the enemy. Beth stepped forward. She wanted to use herself as bait instead of her husband. Quinn said earlier that monsters like people who are sick. Beth won't live much longer anyway, so she might as well do something good. The next morning, she set off with Quinn. Quinn explained the precautions to take when encountering the Skinners.
Don't look it in the eyes. You can see your soul can take it.
After walking not far, the two of them, that frightening presence draws near. Quinn stepped on Beth. He loudly provoked towards the woods. The monsters sensed the scent of the sick and rushed towards them. From the dark mist, Addison's voice is heard. Quinn is confused by his daughter's cries for help. His eyes lose focus.
My baby.
Fortunately, Quinn was only scratched by a claw. He pushed Beth to keep moving forward, threatening her to put her neck in a noose. Seeing Quinn in a weakened state, she lunges to grab the hunting rifle. Underestimating the man's strength, she can only get her head into the noose. Quinn tightened the noose, then loudly called for daughter, asking her to come for a meal. Beth took out a beast's tooth from her pocket. She stabbed Quinn in the throat while he is off guard. Quinn covered his neck and fled into the depths of the jungle. Beth seized the opportunity to take the dagger from his waist. Due to her excessive movement, she accidentally kicked over a wooden stake. Beth was about to be strangled. She used the dagger to cut the hemp rope. Before the rope is completely severed, Beth faints. The rope is on the verge of breaking. Beth fell to the ground. Quinn doesn't hold on much longer either. Before he dies, he seemed to see his daughter's face. Then he was dragged away by the Skinners. Beth woke up in the deep of night. She picked up the dagger and tried to run back to the basement. But halfway there, she was dragged down by a force. Beth was dragged to the pile of rubble between the cliffs. Quinn's skin was attached to the nearby tree. Terrified, Beth stepped back, but was struck down by the dark mist. It's as if she's fallen into a nightmare. She found herself back on the operating table. Quinn approaches. Startled, Beth wakes up from the dream instantly. She finds herself in an unknown cave. Beth picks up the dagger to find a way out, but no matter which direction she goes, she always ends up back where she started. Reliving that dream once again, she can only keep trying, keep running. Beth finally gives up. She lies down on the stone table. Immediately, the Skinner appears. It tries to force its way into Beth's mouth, but it's stabbed by Beth. It turns out that Beth pretended to give up to lure it out. The Skinner roars loudly. It grabs Beth and throws her against the wall. Then she lifts the Skinner into the air. Beth pulls out the knife and stabs the Skinner's mouth. Seizing the opportunity, she lunges to cut, until she severs the Skinner's head. The Skinner instantly turns into debris. A worm wriggles out from the skeleton. still trying to parasitize Beth. It's crushed by Beth's foot. Beth climbs out of the stone cave. She returns to the basement. She finds pills in the traveler's backpack. She gives them to Jay first. The next day, the two climb out of the basement. They head towards the edge of the forest. The movie ends here. An alien worm parasitizes Addison's body, assuming the form of the Skinner to harm others. It contains metaphors of Beth's fight against cancer. Her actions of killing monsters and escaping the jungle also symbolize her refusal to give up and hope for survival against cancer. The overall story is relatively simple and violent. Many backgrounds are not elaborated on, belonging to a very typical low-budget survival film. If you like my channel, please consider subscribing to it.